The conference room smelled like leather and expensive cologne when I walked in that Tuesday morning. Nathan Cross sat at the head of the table, scrolling through his phone like I wasn't even there. He didn't stand up, didn't shake my hand, didn't even look at me. "Lillian Carter, right?" he said, pronouncing my last name wrong. "Yes, sir." He slid a single sheet of paper across the polished wood table. It landed in front of me with a soft whisper, the kind of sound that shouldn't mean anything but somehow meant everything. "Your services are no longer needed. Effective immediately." I stared at the termination letter. My name was spelled correctly there, at least. The rest was vague legal language that basically said, "You're fired. Leave quietly." I looked up at him. "May I ask why?" Nathan finally glanced at me. His eyes were cold, bored, like he'd done this 100 times before. "Do I need a reason?" He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "My last name is Cross. That's reason enough." I should have been angry. Maybe I should have argued or demanded to speak to someone higher up. But I'd learned a long time ago that some battles aren't worth fighting in the moment. So I did something Nathan clearly didn't expect. I stood up calmly, smoothed down my blazer, and said, "Thank you for your time, Mr. Cross." His smirk faltered for just a second. Confusion flickered across his face. People didn't usually thank him for firing them. "That's it?" he asked. "That's it?" I reached for my leather portfolio on the table, the one containing 3 years of documentation, system blueprints, and project files. Nathan waved his hand dismissively. "Leave that. Company property." I nodded and let go of it. I didn't need those papers. Everything important was already backed up somewhere he'd never think to look. As I turned toward the door, I noticed something. The room had gone very, very quiet. That's when I saw him. A man stood near the back wall, partially hidden by the shadow of a tall filing cabinet. He was older, maybe in his late 50s, wearing a navy suit that looked understated but expensive. His arms were folded, and he was watching Nathan with an expression I couldn't quite read. Disappointment, maybe. Or calculation. Nathan still hadn't noticed him. He was too busy texting, probably already moving on to whatever came next in his day. Firing me had taken less than 3 minutes of his time. The man's eyes shifted to me. For a brief second, our gazes met. He gave me the smallest nod, so small that if I'd blinked, I would have missed it. Then I walked out. The heavy door clicked shut behind me, and I heard Nathan's voice echo faintly through the glass. Finally, that took forever. I didn't look back. I'd worked at Cross Industries for 3 years, not in some flashy executive role, but as a senior systems analyst buried deep in the operations department. Most people didn't know my name. Most people didn't need to. But the people who mattered knew exactly who I was. I was the one who designed the automated logistics system that cut shipping errors by 42%. I was the one who rebuilt the client database after the ransomware attack 2 years ago. I was the one who stayed late every night for 6 months straight to make sure the company's expansion into international markets didn't collapse under its own weight. I didn't do it for recognition. I did it because I was good at my job, because I believed in the work. But Nathan Cross didn't care about any of that. To him, I was just another name on a spreadsheet. Another expense he could cut to prove he was making bold leadership decisions. I walked through the lobby, past the receptionist who gave me a sympathetic look, and out into the gray autumn morning. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A single text from an unknown number. "Stay available." I went home, made coffee, and sat on my couch staring at my laptop. Part of me wanted to start applying for new jobs immediately. But something told me to wait. That text message felt deliberate, specific. Stay available. For what? I thought about the man in the conference room, the way he'd been watching. The way Nathan had been completely oblivious to his presence. Who was he? I opened my laptop and started digging through the company directory I still had access to. My credentials hadn't been deactivated yet. Typical Nathan, too arrogant to think I'd do anything with them. I searched the executive profiles, board members, senior leadership, and then I found him. Vincent Harper, Chief Operating Officer. The man who reported directly to the CEO. The man who'd been with Cross Industries for 23 years. The man who, according to every internal memo I'd ever read, actually ran the company while the CEO's son played at being important. Vincent Harper had been standing in that room, watching, listening, and Nathan had no idea. The next day I got a call from an unfamiliar number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Miss Carter?" The voice was calm, professional. "Male? Yes? This is Vincent Harper. I believe we saw each other briefly yesterday." My heart skipped. "Yes, sir, I remember." "Good, I'd like to meet with you this afternoon. Off-site, there's a cafe called Brewer's Corner on 5th Street. Can you be there at 3 o'clock? I checked the time. It was 11:30. "I can." "Excellent. Come alone, tell no one." He hung up before I could respond. I stared at my phone, mind racing. This wasn't normal. CEOs didn't personally reach out to fired employees. They didn't arrange secret meetings at coffee shops. Something bigger was happening, and I was right in the middle of it. Brewer's Corner was a small cafe tucked between a bookstore and a dry cleaner. It smelled like cinnamon and old wood. Vincent Harper sat in the back corner, away from the windows, nursing a black coffee. He stood when I approached. "Miss Carter, thank you for coming." "Of course." We sat. He studied me for a long moment, the way someone looks at a chess piece before deciding where to move it. "Do you know why Nathan fired you?" he asked. "He said his last name was reason enough." Vincent's jaw tightened. "That sounds like him." "With respect, Mr. Harper, why am I here?" He leaned forward. "Because Nathan made a mistake. A big one. And I need to know if you're willing to help me fix it." "Fix it how?" "By coming back. Not as an analyst, as something more." I blinked. "I don't understand." Vincent pulled out a tablet and slid it across the table. On the screen was a detailed breakdown of cross-industries operational systems: shipping, client management, inventory tracking, payroll integration. Every single one had my name attached. "You built half of what keeps this company running," Vincent said quietly. "Nathan didn't know that. He saw your salary and decided you were expendable. He didn't bother reading your file, didn't ask anyone. Just fired you to make himself look decisive." I stared at the screen. "And now the systems are starting to fail." Vincent explained it carefully. "Within hours of my termination, small cracks had appeared. An inventory report didn't generate correctly. A shipping algorithm threw errors no one could diagnose. Client data requests timed out, nothing catastrophic. Not yet, but enough to make people nervous. The IT team tried to fix it," Vincent said. "They can't, because they don't understand the architecture the way you do. You didn't just build systems, Miss Carter. You built solutions tailored to problems most people didn't even know existed." "And Nathan?" Vincent's expression darkened. "Nathan is currently in a meeting, yelling at department heads, demanding to know why everything is breaking. He still hasn't connected it to you." "But you have." "I was in that room for a reason yesterday. I'd been hearing rumors that Nathan was planning to make cuts. I wanted to see who he'd target." Vincent paused. "When I saw it was you, I knew we had a problem." "So what do you want from me?" He met my eyes. "I want you to let him fail." I didn't respond right away. Vincent's words hung in the air between us, heavy with implication. "You want me to do nothing," I said slowly. "I want you to let the consequences play out naturally." Nathan made a reckless decision. He needs to understand what that costs. And if the company suffers? It will, temporarily, but not catastrophically. I've already put safeguards in place. Critical systems are stable. What's failing are the efficiency systems, the ones that make us competitive but won't destroy us if they go down for a week. I studied him. You planned this. I prepared for this. Nathan's been making careless decisions for months, firing good people, whenever he is cutting budgets without understanding what they fund. I knew eventually he'd cross a line. And I'm the line. You're the proof. Vincent leaned back. When the board sees what happens when Nathan acts without consulting anyone, when they see the chaos he's caused, they'll have no choice but to remove him from operational decisions. And what happens to me? You come back, with a promotion, with authority, and with my protection. I let the silence stretch. Outside, a bus hissed past. Someone laughed. The world kept turning, indifferent to the quiet battle being waged in a coffee shop on 5th Street. Finally, I said, "I need 24 hours to think about it." Vincent nodded. "Fair enough, but Miss Carter?" He stood, buttoning his jacket. "Nathan will call you, probably soon. When he does, remember, you hold all the cards, not him." Vincent was right. Nathan called me that night at 8:15. I let it ring 4 times before answering. "Lillian Carter." "Carter." It's Nathan Cross. His voice was tight, strained. The smugness from yesterday was gone. I need you to come in tomorrow morning, early, 7 o'clock. I was terminated yesterday, Mr. Cross. I'm aware. There's been a miscommunication. We'd like to discuss your rehiring. Miscommunication. That was one way to put it. I'm not sure I'm available, I said calmly. Silence. I could almost hear his teeth grinding. Look, he said, voice clipped. We're experiencing some technical issues. The IT team says you're the only one who can fix them, so I'm offering you your job back. Same salary, same position. No. Excuse me? No thank you, Mr. Cross. I'm not interested in returning under those terms. What terms do you want? Now he sounded desperate. Good, I'll discuss that with Mr. Harper, not with you. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Power. The next morning, Vincent called me himself. Nathan's in a panic. The logistics system crashed overnight. Shipments are delayed. Clients are complaining. I heard. The board is meeting this afternoon, emergency session. They want answers. Will Nathan provide them? He's going to try, but he doesn't have any. Vincent paused. Miss Carter, I need to know. Are you in or out? I thought about the last 3 years. The late nights. The projects I'd poured myself into. The respect I'd earned from colleagues who actually understood what I did. And then I thought about Nathan sliding that termination letter across the table like I was nothing. I'm in, I said. But I have conditions. The board meeting happened without me. Vincent filled me in later. Nathan had stood in front of 12 board members and tried to explain why multiple systems were failing simultaneously. He blamed IT. He blamed outdated infrastructure. He blamed budget constraints. He never mentioned my name. One of the board members, a woman named Catherine Wu, finally interrupted him. Nathan, who managed these systems before they started failing? Nathan hesitated. We had an analyst, but she was let go. Why? Budget cuts. Catherine pulled out a tablet. According to this report from Mr. Harper, this analyst, Lillian Carter, built most of these systems from scratch. She's been repeatedly flagged as a critical asset, and you fired her. Why exactly? Nathan had no good answer. I made a judgment call. A judgment call that's now costing us hundreds of thousands in delayed shipments and potential contract breaches. The room turned on him then, not dramatically, but decisively. By the end of the meeting, Nathan was stripped of all operational authority. He could keep his title for now, but every major decision required board approval. Vincent called me 2 hours later. It's done. My official offer came the next day. Not from Nathan, from the CEO himself, William Cross, Nathan's father. We met in his corner office, high above the city. He was older than I'd expected, with silver hair and tired eyes. Miss Carter, I owe you an apology. My son acted rashly. He cost this company a valuable employee and created a mess that will take weeks to clean up. I appreciate that, sir. Vincent speaks very highly of you. He says you're the best systems architect he's worked with in 20 years. That's generous of him. William leaned forward. I'd like to offer you a position as Director of Systems Operations. You'll report directly to Vincent. Significant raise, your own team, full authority over technical infrastructure. I kept my face neutral. I have some conditions. Name them. I want a contract, 3 years minimum, termination only for cause with clear definitions, and I want it in writing that no member of the Cross family can override my technical decisions without board approval. William didn't blink. Done. And one more thing. Yes, I want Nathan to personally sign off on my hiring paperwork. For the first time, William smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a father who knew his son needed to learn a hard lesson. I'll make sure of it. Nathan signed the papers 3 days later. I wasn't there to see it, but Vincent told me he looked like he wanted to throw up. My first day back, I walked through the building with my head high. People stared. Whispers followed me. Everyone knew what had happened. The CEO's son had fired me. The company fell apart. I came back stronger. It was the kind of story people told in break rooms and happy hours. The kind of story that became legend. Nathan avoided me completely. We worked in the same building, but he never came down to the operations floor. Never sent emails. Never acknowledged my existence. Good. 3 months later, the systems were fully stabilized. My team had expanded to 12 people. We'd implemented new safeguards, updated protocols, and streamlined processes that made Cross Industries more efficient than it had been in years. Vincent stopped by my office one afternoon. "You've done good work, Lillian." "Thank you. I have a question, though." "Go ahead." "Why didn't you fight back when Nathan fired you? You could have argued, demanded explanations, made a scene." I thought about that morning in the conference room, the termination letter, the smugness in Nathan's voice. "Because," I said slowly, "some battles are won by walking away and letting people realize what they've lost." Vincent nodded. "Wise." "Besides," I added, "I knew you were in the room." He raised an eyebrow. "You saw me?" "I saw someone standing in the shadows. I didn't know who, but I knew someone was watching, and I figured if that person was important enough to be there, they'd see what Nathan really was. And if I hadn't been there, then I would have landed on my feet somewhere else. But you were there, and you saw exactly what you needed to see." Vincent smiled. "You're going to go far in this company, Miss Carter." Nathan left Cross Industries 6 months later. Officially, it was a mutual decision to pursue other opportunities. Unofficially, the board forced him out after another string of bad decisions. I heard he went to work for one of his father's competitors. Lower title, less money, no real authority. I didn't celebrate. Revenge had never been the point. Justice was. A year after my firing, I was promoted again, this time to Vice President of Operations. I reported directly to the CEO. My decisions shaped the company's direction. Catherine Wu, the board member who'd questioned Nathan, called me personally to congratulate me. "You handled that situation with remarkable grace," she said. "Thank you." Most people would have burned bridges, filed lawsuits, made noise. I considered it. "What stopped you?" "Patience," I said, "and the belief that good work speaks louder than anger." People sometimes ask me what I learned from being fired by Nathan Cross. I tell them this: power isn't about titles or last names. It's about value, about the work you do when no one's watching, about the systems you build that hold everything together. Nathan thought power came from his father's name. He thought he could fire anyone, cut anything, decide everything. He was wrong. Real power is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to. It sits in the back of conference rooms, watching, waiting, measuring. It walks out calmly when dismissed, knowing the truth will catch up eventually. It doesn't fight battles. It doesn't need to win. 2 years after my firing, William Cross retired. Vincent Harper became CEO. And I became Chief Operating Officer. The company thrived. We expanded into new markets, launched innovative products, built a reputation for stability and excellence. And through it all, I remembered that Tuesday morning in the conference room. The termination letter. The smug smile. The moment Nathan Cross thought he'd won. Sometimes I see Nathan around town, at restaurants, networking events, industry conferences. He never approaches me, never makes eye contact, just keeps his distance. I don't blame him. What would he say? "Sorry I fired you and almost destroyed the company? Thanks for not suing me? You were right and I was wrong?" None of those words would change what happened. None of them would erase the lesson he learned the hard way. The best part isn't my success. It's knowing that every person Nathan ever underestimated, every employee he dismissed without thought, now has proof that arrogance has consequences. My story spread through the industry. It became a cautionary tale. And whenever some young executive somewhere thinks about firing someone without doing their homework, someone else says, "Remember what happened to Nathan Cross? Vincent and I have coffee sometimes. Same cafe where he first approached me. Do you ever regret it?" he asks. "Letting the systems fail? Letting Nathan dig his own grave?" "No," I say. "He dug that grave himself. I just stepped aside and let him fall in." That's cold. That's justice. Years later, a young analyst came to my office. She was nervous, clutching a folder full of ideas. "Miss Carter, I have some proposals for improving the client database. I know I'm just an analyst, and maybe this isn't my place, but..." I stopped her. "What's your name?" "Amy Rodriguez." "Amy, let me tell you something. In this company, good ideas matter more than titles. If your proposal is solid, I'll listen. If it's not, I'll tell you why, but I'll always listen." She relaxed, smiled. "Thank you. And Amy, never let anyone make you feel small because of where you sit in the org chart. Your work matters. You matter." She left my office standing taller. I knew that feeling. The CEO's son fired me instantly. He didn't see who was standing behind him. He didn't see the consequences waiting. He didn't see anything beyond his own reflection. But I saw everything. And when I walked out of that conference room, I wasn't walking away defeated. I was walking toward the moment when everyone else would finally see what I'd always known. Some exits look like endings, until the truth steps forward and changes everything. Nathan learned that lesson too late. I learned it just in time. And that made all the difference.